Hi everybody, I'm Sarita Scherpereel and I am not your mother's realtor, and this is my podcast where we talk about more than just real estate. And I am joined by my good friend, client, and colleague, Megan.
Hi everyone, I'm Megan Asperger.
All right.
Buckle up everyone. Today we are talking about moving in with your partner.
So we're defining this, no matter what your sexual orientation is, this is basically somebody who is not married to another person or legally bound to another person. You are like dating and then have decided to take another step in your relationship and are moving in together.
Yeah, and according to the CDC, 67% of people have cohabitated before marriage. And that brings us in really nicely to our first topic, which is figure out your relationship shit first.
The relationship shit.
Yeah, sorry.
Say that 5 times fast and you have a winner.
Because the other thing is that, and according to the same research from Pew Research, cohabitating adults who aren't engaged and moving in with their partner, 44% say they see living together as a step towards marriage.
Yeah.
Now, that's only for both in the 44%, but that means 66% of people don't see moving in together as a step towards marriage. So,
which is fine as long as you're both aligned with that's not how you're defining this.
Right, because a lot of people might move in together because it's financially sound decision. There's all sorts of reasons people decide, like, let's do this. But we all know someone where one person thought, oh, I could really save some money if I just shared a room with another person, and the other person was like planning their wedding in their head.
And usually it's the female, and that's the hard part about this is that, like, we don't want to be, gender specific, but talking to my girlfriends, even myself, I had been there in one relationship where I was fully thinking that this was going in one direction and then found out that it was not. Yeah. Which actually is kind of why we wanted to talk about this, because when I first started my real estate career, I was doing a lot of rentals. And I don't do them now, but it was a great place to start your career. So anyways, I was working with this couple that had decided that they were going to move in together. We had been looking for a couple of months, seen a couple of places, finally found something that they liked, and basically all they had to do was turn in a security deposit in an online system, and then I could meet about the property and get the key. Yeah. They did not want to turn in their security deposit and wanted to see the property one more time.
Red flag.
That was, well, for a realtor, that should have been like a red flag of like, hey, what's going on here? And you obviously do what you can to like make sure the client's happy. If so, of course, I met them at the property. But they literally ended up breaking up right in front of me. I was for a 15-minute appointment there for an hour and a half, and I could see it unraveling as we go. It basically ended up that they broke up and decided not to take the place, obviously. But yikes. But what ends up happening is, like, in hindsight now, obviously as, a third party kind of like on the outside, I saw a lot of red flags that they weren't working through well. And the big thing was they had not defined what the next steps of this moving into this monumental moment were going to mean for them. And that was really hard to watch. So most of the stuff that we're saying and maybe oversharing on is just
get ready.
It's a cautionary tale so that you don't make these decisions. And looking at this data here is just a good indicator that, like, it's not as concrete as you think it's going to be, that we still have so many people that are in one direction or the other on what they think the intent of living together is.
Right. When my husband and I decided to move in together, well, when I decided to move in with my husband was kind of a different time than when he decided that I should move in, because I already lived there. My husband, ultimately, I ended up having a sham apartment where I kept my bed, and then all of my other stuff was like slowly migrating into his condo, and he kind of noticed, but mostly didn't know how bad it was until I was moving, and I'm like, oh, we're done.
You just needed to get the bed over or something. Like,
I left the bed, actually.
Like, sell everything on Craigslist, and you're like, yeah, I was already here to begin with.
I just walk over with the backpack. I wish. No, that was its own thing. But he ultimately did arrive at the correct decision of inviting me to move into his condo. And when that happened, I was saying to him, like, of course I had already moved all my stuff over, but I hadn't actually moved in, and I hadn't done any of the, like, harder parts of it, and I hadn't sold any of my stuff, which is scary to do when you're just not sure. And I said, like, I need this to be, even if you're not 100% sure, like, I am sure that I wouldn't be moving in with you if I didn't think that we were going to get married.
Yeah, if you did not think that you were on that path,
or then don't have me.
Yeah, if we were living together and things are still going well, that eventually that next step is going to be taken.
Right.
And I feel like it's not that you have to say, "Hey, we're going to live together because we're going to get married," because then at that point you're just basically trying to ask for, like, getting engaged.
Yeah,
like that's not the point of the conversation. To me, it is that, like, hey, if we are both at a point in our life where we find somebody that we love and it aligns with that, we are taking that next step, then it's easier to start selling off your things.
Right.
And, you know, especially in Chicago, when, like, acquiring a bed is very hard, getting somebody to deliver a mattress, like, you know, finding furniture.
I had to wait for my roommate's sister to get engaged just so I could have a bed, first of all. I was poor.
Yeah. But, you know, just, like, assembling the furniture, like, whatever it is, like, usually your first apartments here, you're not living, like, some luxury, you know, unit. I mean, most of us are not.
Yeah, no.
You know, you're buying cheap furniture. You are saving to get furniture that's decent or nice or whatever. So having to get rid of that and unravel your life to move in with somebody, these things have to be talked about and discussed, or you're going to be the one that has the hard time of, like, rebuilding your life, because you, like with Ben, had chosen to move in with him, who was already established, already had furniture in the place, owned his condo. And so you were taking the bigger risk.
Oh, yeah. He didn't take a risk at all.
Right.
Except, I mean...
Well, he did win the lottery.
Yeah. You're welcome, Ben.
So I think that's the hardest part for women to initiate that conversation. And maybe not even necessarily just women, because I don't want to be, you know, not inclusive in this conversation, but maybe if the financial, and we'll talk about this here in a second, but maybe if the financial roles are different, like you were moving in with him, so he probably on paper was seen as having a lot more assets in play than you were.
Yes.
But even though the financial equation's not the same, you were having more risk. I was the one
risking everything,
So then financially, even though he had more, you had less, you're risking more.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
That's fucked up.
Well, I know, and that's why
No. You married him, you had a kid.
We're fine.
You won.
No, it was scary.
Actually,
no, it was a really big deal, and I think it is really scary. And that's why, actually, we're almost more thinking of when people both are moving in together and finding a new place together and whatever. And if you can do that, that's always better.
Yeah, so
it's a lot less territorial and weird.
Right. And we'll talk about kind of a little bit more on the topic of things to look for when you're collaborating on your search and all of those things.
But if both people are coming together and joining their lives and whatever, that's a huge risk too, because you're trying to then, if you have to separate it, it's more intertwined. You might have bought even furniture together, who gets this, who gets that.
Right.
And it's better to never get there.
Right.
If you can avoid it.
So having the hard conversation is the first point. The second point, which is also kind of intimidating for a lot of people, is telling your parents. Are you on the same page as your partner with what you're going to do for your parents or not? Like, tell your parents or not.
Yeah. We both grew up Catholic, and so they don't want you to live together first. So that's tough. It's like, sorry, Mom. I know you think I'm going to hell now. I don't agree.
Right.
Hopefully you'll still come visit me. And I have friends who never told their parents that I have a friend whose husband literally would pay like a little tiny bit of rent so that when his parents came in town, he could just take over someone else's room he'd just take down their like personal stuff and then have them come in, and all the roommates were just like, oh, hey, Mr. Whatever. And now they're married and it's fine. But like they lived together for 4 years in secret. That's a long time.
And for me, I was in a relationship that my boyfriend at the time did not want to tell his parents. And it took a while for it to be mentioned, even though we had been living together for like, I think like almost like 9 months or something at that point. And I'm just such a person of like, I'm not like, I just like to be who
You're an open book.
I am an open book.
Yeah.
I'm a classic overshare person. I really want people to know me and know the heart of me.
We're
right
literally
away.
doing a podcast
I'm
right
doing
now.
a podcast on my feelings.
Right.
Like, even though I'm in therapy, I feel like this is therapy. Like, I want to like converse and like give people like everything I can. And it's hard for me to censor myself.
Mm-hmm.
And like, not only that, but like also I cuss a lot and things like that, are harder to do, when you're around parents. So I felt like I was living this double life. I couldn't be myself. I couldn't cuss. I couldn't, be the naturally flamboyant pirate that my mouth is or whatever. But then I also couldn't share things that we were doing together. So like the experiences I was having with this person, I felt like we were robbing his family of this beautiful relationship we had at the time. And it ended up, because I just kept pushing it of like, hey, we need to do this. Because for me, it was just driving me up the wall that like when we would see them that we were not honest. And then couldn't share things, wherever, social media. But the family sort of turned, or at least one member of the family had turned a little bit in exposing or saying, that we had lived together, to a point that then the relationship became intolerable because I was seen as like this vixen who was like trying to like live with this person.
It's all true.
I'm trying to be careful of what I say on the podcast.
Sure.
But, it wouldn't kind of get back to him because, this is not the only reason why the relationship fell apart.
Well,
but
right.
It was also like I could not, in my heart of hearts, be myself and then in the relationship, and it made me miserable.
And also for him, it was probably like, I don't want to deal with this shit. It
Right.
doesn't matter.
And
I don't care what they
that.
think.
Right. And I didn't realize that I thought I was being hidden. And that also was driving me up the fucking wall.
Yeah.
That like, hey, you've got this like awesome person in your life that you apparently love. Why can't you be, real transparent with other people that you love?
Yeah.
So now in hindsight, if that had been explained to me how neurotic the family was going to be about us living together before marriage. Granted, you guys, I was 35, and he was older. And I just don't know why they would not think that, like...
I know. That's where you can't get around it.
I know. But see, it's like it's different mentalities of thinking. And if we had a conversation prior to this that was like, hey, Sarita, I love you a lot, but my family's fucking crazy, and I can't tell them because this is going to be 10,000 times harder on us, I probably would have been like, yeah, okay. But instead, it was kind of skirted around the craziness.
But you also don't know. I didn't know what my parents were going to do. I didn't think it was going to, like, be a huge deal. They didn't like it. They weren't happy. It was just, but it didn't change our relationship fundamentally.
Well, okay, but Megan, I gotta tell you, this is between us and our 5 million listeners.
Hello,
Tokyo. His brother had lived with the girlfriend before they got married, and they did get married. And then something else had happened and they got divorced. But it was all pointed back to the fact that they lived together before they got married.
I think that must have been
known,
it.
I know. And what's your flagger? Your flagger of construction. This is just flags for me. And ultimately, it led to a lot of other issues that subsurface, is that a word? Surface from, all these talks on these things that like, hey, you got a Kayla's face. Oh my God, she's mortified. She's like, oh, Sarita's like oversharing.
But no, I think that's really
redo this episode.
All
again.
of this is, but all of these things are. It's like you bring all these different parts of your life into something like this. So there are, of course, we all can look back at a relationship and be like, why didn't I break up with them at this point?
Right.
I can say that about like 20 times. In all my old relationships where I'm like, oh, it should have been right then. Oh, wait, no.
Yeah.
It should have been right then. And it just...
It's not. But
can't.
You don't want to, like, not have these conversations because it will lead to bigger battles later. Basically, that's how I kind of like equate to this. Is like, yeah, I had two people that broke up in front of me. I broke up with somebody. These were big issues, and like for me, systemically, it was that we did not have an honest dialogue about all this other stuff that could happen, and it was after it had happened that I piecemealed this together.
Of course.
Now, granted, like I also had other things that had surfaced, and like we were saying, but like, you know, fundamentally, if you can have a talk with the person you're going to live with about this, I feel like this is one area of drama you can kind of like avoid altogether. Kayla, do we need to take it? Yeah, there it is. All right, so we just need to take a quick break and reset here, but then we're going to go ahead and dive a lot deeper into finances and talking honestly about that, and then we're going to wrap up with some just fast tips on things that you can avoid for a successful moving day and moving forward in the relationship. All right, we'll be right back. On our break, I
just have to say this. Like, I can't get the image out of my mind of this, I assume, mom, like, sitting with her coffee, like, talking to her girlfriends, like, I knew that one was trouble the second they moved in together, because anyone who moves in before they get married can't be a friend. Yeah. Like, it could be my mom, frankly.
Yeah. Well, I think my mom had said when the boyfriend I moved in with college was, I guess I'm feeling like a little bit of a hussy saying that, but I was too, guys. But she had said the expression of like why I shouldn't do it was why buy the cow if you're getting the milk for free. And I mean, that's a pretty common expression, but I had not heard it at the time. And when you're about to move in with somebody, it's not the kind of support you want to have in Kayla's face again. Kayla's like, these elder millennials are fucking crazy.
I know. I feel like, I wonder if anyone else's parents even care out there. It was such a big deal. I had an actual panic attack before I told my parents, because I was so stressed out about, like, what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, sorry. We're going to move on, but we were talking offline. Kayla's like, please. Yeah. We were talking offline about all of this, and, like, it's kind of crazy. Yeah. Oh, wait, but I do have something else to say about this. We're never actually, this is the topic, no. You said something that was really, like, helpful for me. So we're talking about all these red flags, and, like, obviously we're not relationship counselors and therapists.
But you can write in with questions, and I'll give you my opinion.
But we'd love to give you advice on shit that we know nothing about.
Ask an Amateur with Megan Oscar and Sarita Scherpereel. Our new podcast.
But you had said something that was really interesting about the red flags of like, the second you can get out of a relationship, all the red flags were going to be there or whatever. And like, I think anybody listening to this is probably going to like hear that like, there's going to be red flags, and you sort of like try to move through them. But for what you had said was like, if I were to divorce Ben tomorrow, of course there would be all of these red flags leading up to this.
Even like
when I was like breaking up with my boyfriend.
It's so true.
Yeah. And you're like, of course there would be. Like,
everybody. I mean,
you work through the issues.
Yeah. Well, and also nobody's perfect, and I'm sure I said real shitty stuff that he could be like, that was the moment. And I don't know what it is. I know what his are. It's terrible. Yeah. And my pretty healthy relationship with my husband. I mean,
it's great.
Pandemic aside. I'm just kidding. We're in a pretty good place. We got to go out to dinner again, so we're fine.
Everything's fine. Yeah. And you got new walls too, so you've got a new place to kind of like.
But I think that. Yeah. It is. These are such personal things, and I think financially, that's really personal too.
Yeah. Okay. So, more red flags coming for me. So let's talk about the finances.
Yeah.
So I think it is easier to run around naked in front of a boy for me, because that's what I'm interested in. Or really just in general.
Just
like, I used to do theater, so I have like really no. What's it called? Ambition or
inhibition.
Inhibition. Yeah. Anyways, so
you have a lot of ambition. Just for the record,
a lot. But the hard part was, especially when I was poor. So like now I'm making money, but when I had, oh my God, for a while, my goal was to just pay for brunch without crying. Like that was my base financial goal.
That's a good one.
That's a good one, yeah. But I had parent support for a long time. And so I did not understand, I didn't understand finances at all. Before I really started my job at the University of Chicago, at the Booth School of Business, and then like that kind of changed my life. But let me just take a step back here. So to understand a little bit about me personally, I am an opera singer and a music theater major who then
later I was like, bye, I'm gonna go make money in real estate.
But there was a long time where I was just ignorant on my financial goals and how to create finances. Budget didn't exist for me. So to have conversations with the people that I live with about living with them was just like kind of having to say, hey, I'm winging my finances by hope and a prayer. And if I ever got in trouble, I'd like call my parents. And now I don't have that luxury, and have been,
and plenty of people never have it.
Yeah. So it's sort of, now I'm in this boat of like, okay, I'm making my own money. I have employees, but if this ship sinks, nobody's going to come and save it. So that's kind of a difference in, I guess, what I want to say in this conversation. So it's hard to talk about finances when you don't have budgets and goals and all of these things, and you're not spending in a way that's like healthy, and then you have to maybe go to somebody like, maybe in your case like Ben, who's like, hey, he had a condo, he had a job, he like had basically his whole life was already like kind of set. If I was, not that I'm going to, but let's say I was gonna like date Ben,
stay away from my man. No, literally, good luck. If
I was to date Ben and have to show him like what my goals were or how much I could afford of a place, it would be like laughable.
No, it was so awkward. I remember, and I was like in fine shape. Like my dad is a financial planner, and they showed this terrifying movie about credit card debt in my high school that I have never forgotten.
Oh.
It was effective. Anyway, I'm not going to talk about it. It's too scary. But it really worked on me. But because of that, like I didn't have like a super high paying job or anything. It was just kind of like, I'm limping along. Like there's money in this account. It goes and comes. Right. Like it's not like a lot of money. If I lost my job, I'd be okay for a month, maybe 2. I wouldn't have health insurance for sure.
Yeah.
And I'd eat a lot of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
Eggs.
But like I could pay my rent.
Yeah.
And so when Ben and I had to talk about it, it was scary. And it was hard to say like, we didn't literally show each other our pay stubs, but it was like, this is what I make, and this is how much goes to like the bar down the street, essentially at that time. And I was like, I don't know what you're gonna say about this. Yeah. And is this gonna? I know, like it's scary, and people sometimes are like, is this gonna be a relationship ender? Especially when you have a lot of debt, like you have to bring that up. It's just
your debt. You need to bring up your credit report or your credit score.
If you know, which I
didn't. Or like have like kind of a range. And then like, the debt to me is like the 2 categories. So student loan debt, credit card debt, your
medical
credit
bills
score.
maybe?
Yeah,
I mean,
medical
hopefully
bills.
not, but yeah.
And like kind of what you bring home and make, and then sort of what you spend. Now, do you have to go through all of that? No, because you don't. But
you should.
Yeah, and
that's why you're listening.
Yeah, and here's the problem with not doing that. So if you don't have a budget and that person does have a budget, and then you guys are going to live together, hopefully maybe split rent 50-50. If you're going to go and look at places and your significant other can afford the Taj Mahal and you can afford the Pavalia down the road, then it's going to be really hard to find places that are going to equate to your must-haves and their must-haves.
And also, then maybe you have a conversation about, should this be a 50-50 split? Mm-hmm. And that's where the first part that we talked about matters more. Because if you guys are moving in together to save money or because it's financially a good idea, but not necessarily because you see this long term. I doubt anyone moves in knowing they just want to break up with someone.
Yeah.
It's like...
Yeah. But so, like your intent is to like make it work no matter what.
Right. But you might have a different feeling about... if I make more money than you, I should pay more rent than you, than if you are moving in with someone because you think you guys are going to join your lives together and get married. Then it might feel more okay to say, hey, I make 4 times as much as you do, so I should pay this much rent and you should pay this much. And it's okay that it's not the same. And if you say that, it has to actually be okay.
Yeah, and that's
really important.
Because so in the relationship I had been talking about prior, he made a lot of money, and I had just basically left a career to start real estate.
She babysat for me.
Oh, I did. Yeah. So that's definitely a big part of this, is that like I at one point in time when I was starting my career and had like just not a set of steady clients and steady income, I was watching Myra once a week while you guys did date night, and that was really great because I knew no matter what I'd have like, I don't know, $50 or whatever. My sugar daddy Ben was giving me. I don't
whatever
remember,
we drunkenly gave you. We're good parents, but I was like, give me your wallet.
There was one time there was that overpay, and then the next time I was like, yeah, you guys kind of overpaid, and Ben was like, yeah, she did.
I'm a really good friend.
Also, I had 3 margaritas, and I was a better friend after that.
Yeah.
But no, so yeah, I was babysitting Myra for a bit, and I just didn't have steady income before I like joined a team and then started making a little bit more steady income. But regardless, it was not good income because I was paying out taxes. I was also having to pay my licensing fees, business cards, startup expenses that like when people are getting into real estate, they always say you can't have enough money, but like that's the truth. You really can't have enough money to start. I was lucky. My partner at the time was really supportive to an extent. He was supportive for a long time, and like literally until the second, I think I had made $30,000 one month. So I went from 4 months of no pay, and then all of a sudden all my commissions were wrapped into like 1 month of like I made $30,000. And then it was like the switch immediately happened where it was like, oh, okay, now she's like making more money. And even though I was making more money, I had debt at that time that I was also not talking about because I wanted to make sure that like I was keeping up with the life.
It's scary, and you're trying to match what he can do.
And like the traveling, like he was always like really great at traveling and stuff like that. So I was like I was overextending in ways that like in hindsight, like, yeah, I got to do a lot of fun shit, but like it was kind of stupid. And so I wasn't honest. Then the switch flipped, and then that's when the resentment started because there was a jump off point of like, oh, poor Sarita. Poor Sarita. Yeah. And I was like, oh, well, she's doing okay. But just because I made $30,000 in 1 month, I didn't have, I think, commissions for like a month and a half after that or some period of time.
So ultimately it was like, that's for 6 months,
right,
really.
You don't know in real estate. And so having somebody that didn't understand that was really hard. But I wasn't being transparent about that, or maybe at that point he was just kind of fed up. Like, I mean, like it could have been
hard.
a lot
it's
of things,
like everybody needs to know the whole situation, and that's why, because you can't really come up with your real list of what are we looking for, what can we afford, if you don't know what both of you can afford.
And it's not one size fits all, and you have to know. Younger people out there.
Gather around, children.
Gather around. This is an elder millennial here. She's going to be 38 next month, and she's got some words of wisdom.
We're both 23.
And we're both virgins. Myra was immaculate conception. Look, you have to just make sure that you're nimble and honest. You could lose your job. It maybe is felt harder. You could maybe get a pay raise. They could lose their job. It's felt harder. Maybe they have more debt. Maybe they have less debt. It doesn't matter. But if you're not constantly talking about these things, then you end up like Sarita.
Successful in a 2-bedroom apartment. Alone.
Alone.
No. Alone. That you can afford by yourself. Sorry, I'm an idiot. No, I think a lot of people would want to be in your situation now.
Sarita.
My daughter didn't say that.
That's okay. We gotta like clue them in on that. So like we were at breakfast talking about Oakley, her listing, and I was telling them about my trip to Italy, and I was just like, yeah, some parts of it were kind of lonely. And it was just like, I talked for like 10 minutes, and I literally was just like, yeah, some parts were kind of lonely. And Myra interrupts, and she just goes, lonely Sarita. And I couldn't hear her because she had her mask on, so she had to repeat it like
17 times.
And then at some point, I think I just didn't want to hear it. Like, I knew what she was saying, and I was like, Megan, what is she? She's not. No, I'm fine. It's fine. I have a BMW. Everything is fine.
I'm just saying,
that was what it was.
You are really set financially now. So now, it's still probably going to be awkward when you meet someone if you want to do this.
Oh, now it's actually going to be way worse because I'll probably make more money than.
But that's not worse. It's not worse if it's like, oh,
you don't think that the tables would turn differently? So like, let's say from a female to male perspective, like I make more money than the other person.
Yeah, well, I guess it depends on the person, right? But I just mean if the person you meet is just is fine financially, even if you make more money, that's not a bad conversation. None of this has to be a bad conversation, but if what you're saying is, I'm coming to the table, I have $13,000 of credit card debt, that's a different conversation than, and I make like $50,000 a year or whatever. I definitely have friends in that position. Yeah. That's a harder conversation than like, oh, I'm doing really well financially, and like maybe we need to adjust what we can afford together because of what you make, but like it's not like you don't have to be as worried. I'd be worried still just if someone wanted to see like, how much do you spend on Amazon a month, or like, do you actually know how many streaming services you are paying for right now? I couldn't answer either of those questions, and like, not that you'd specifically be asked that, but maybe you should. Frankly.
Sorry, I'm counting them in my head because I think I've got
Don't count them. It's better not to know.
Well, Amazon, they switched. They got rid of HBO, and so my HBO subscription, I had to pay for HBO Max, and it's been a whole... Okay, so anyways. Yeah. But I do think that there is something maybe interesting on another podcast we talk about, which is like if a female is making more than a male, because I do think that men might struggle with that a little bit.
Yeah, I think some men might.
The difference on it.
But they'll get over it, I hope. Most of them just say thank you. Just be glad.
Yeah.
Just be glad you are financially stable.
I didn't ask you. I think it was my friend Dan. I'd said there was a guy that we were flirting with out, and I was like, how much money do you think I need to make to have a kept man?
Yeah.
All right, write this episode down, Kayla.
Yeah.
I think it's just like subtitled Sarita needs a spouse. Okay, so, oh God, I feel like, have we botched this yet? No, we're fine.
We're fine. We're just going to say abruptly, we're going to tell you some tips of how to not get in a huge fight in a car with a chair right behind you and like screaming, and then you're both like, it's raining. Did this happen to me? Yeah, it did. That was the only thing I had to move into my husband's condo. And it was still a nightmare. Yeah. Moving sucks. There's no getting around it.
I don't know why I convince people to do this for a living, because it's really hard. Just moving
They convince themselves. By the time they've met you, it's not your fault.
You're so nice.
I say this as someone who convinced myself and forced my husband's hand.
I know.
I'm great to be married to, just for the record.
Me too. I'm glad you're married too.
Yeah. No, I said I'm great to be married too.
Oh, that you're... I just want to be real clear that we haven't had any alcohol or any substances before this.
No, we're just having fun.
Oh, yeah. Kayla's drinking her Waterloo over there. Okay, so tips for moving forward. Okay, first and foremost, declutter all of your stuff before moving day. So many times that on moving day, you get to the place, you start unpacking the once you've got boxes everywhere, the place shrinks. I feel like even this place, which was huge when I moved in, once we had 3 bodies in this room, I was like second bedroom my ass.
Yeah.
So I think what ends up happening is that like, if you don't do some of like the hard work before you move in, then you're gonna have to do it in front of somebody that's looking at shit that they don't want in their place, and then there might be like some tension.
You don't want your own wagon wheel coffee table moment.
Pardon?
That's from When Harry Met Sally.
Oh, that's a deep cut.
Yeah.
Okay. Our children that are listening.
Yeah, sorry everyone. Look it up. You'll be glad you did.
Surprised. Okay, the other thing too, and this actually comes from Kayla.
Really important.
And also my own personal experience, but we were talking about this after she had moved in with another team member of ours, Kenny, our IT guy.
Our IT guy. He's a volunteer.
He's a volunteer. It's a volunteer position. That on the day of the move, it's real easy to get wrapped up into getting your place clean, the old place clean, the new place clean. You're just going to have boxes everywhere. You are going to forget to eat. And hunger is real. Make sure you get up, figure out a way to have some oatmeal or drive through whatever, and make sure that you're eating throughout the day so that at 10 o'clock at night, you're not hungry and not knowing where shit is, and then you also don't have like anything, to eat because you're still unpacking and then have meltdowns.
Yeah. And also, it's just like a good tip. Whenever my parents come, it's the first thing I do is give them snacks. And then it makes my mom a lot nicer.
Well, I mean, it does. I mean, I always feel like when we're here, I want to graze a little bit. I'll bring out like carrots and stuff like that. Okay, but here's I just thought of this because this is actually something I do. And I don't know, maybe if we could do like an Instagram like post for this. But when you're moving, you need to have like what I call like an emergency box of just like maybe coffee cup, toilet paper, soap, paper towel. Usually for me, it consists of coffee and oatmeal because if I can't find that the morning after I move, I will burn the building down.
So like your modem?
Yeah, stuff like that like you're like, hey, this is the stuff that critically I need to locate in my new place so that I can work through all the other boxes and stuff like that. Yeah. I typically also have like kind of an emergency box of all the like kind of toiletries and house essentials. But then I also pack a suitcase that's literally just the sheets on my bed. So whatever I'm going to throw on my bed that day to like have for sheets. Then I also basically pack a suitcase that is my like stuff I need to like
for a week.
Like a week, yeah. So like my toiletries, my pajamas, what I'm going to wear the next day for work, things that like I can immediately find so that like maybe even 2 days after the move when I've sort of started pulling things out and I don't really remember where things are, that I know that like if I go to that suitcase, no matter what I need is going to be in there.
That's
medicine,
smart.
Stuff like that.
I didn't do that this time, and I regretted it.
Honestly, so this time for this move, I moved 3 days before Christmas.
Yeah.
It was fine.
This time was different.
It was a 6-day move. I found this place. I got a good deal on it, and I was like, 3 outdoor spaces, parking, 2 bed, 2 bath, like whatever I got to do.
Of course,
now.
I'm in.
Yeah, I'm in. Oh, working fireplace? Are you kidding me? That was amazing. So I moved in 6 days. I was also not well, and then the day after Christmas, I was going to Mexico. So I had my emergency boxes set up. I packed for my trip, and then literally I threw everything into boxes. Did I tell you about this? Sorry, I'm tapping.
No, it's okay. I
don't know
what you're going to say.
Right at me. I did not label my boxes. This is so fucking stupid. Because it was Christmas, and I wanted to make it feel like every box was a surprise.
Punish yourself for months. No, that's so funny.
Awful. And so my friend Dan and Kenny came over on the day of Christmas. Different Kenny, not the one on Kayla's face. Oh my God, she's like, why did I quit my job to work for you? So on the day of Christmas, they're over, and I had actually done a pretty good job of like unpacking. And Kenny goes, "Can I help you can I help you with these last boxes?" And I was like, No, don't, because I have found there's some things that are unaccounted for I can't find, and they might be in that box. Like I don't know, panties, who knows? Like they're mystery boxes throughout. And he was just like, okay, I gotcha. So, I would say, okay, anyways, tip was emergency boxes. Just maybe make some of those and think about
It's
those
a good one. That's a good one. And finally, our last tip is assign who pays each bill. Yeah. Or the bills.
The bills, or how you do it, split-wise, Venmo, whatever. And making sure you know that in advance, because if you, we keep talking about, the poor person and the rich person in every scenario, but I feel like that's actually the point.
You usually don't make the exact same amount of money.
Right. So, for me now, I could do auto pay, but I will tell you, 10 years ago when I was, doing improv.
I could not do
Oh, my God, no. I needed checks and everything because I didn't know when the money was going to be there.
There was something I had to, and I remember it being so stressful.
Yeah.
And it was like, why am I doing this?
Yeah. I think there was, a people's gas period of time in my life where I had to do an auto. And it
could be any amount.
It could be
if
any
you didn't
amount.
Set it up, yeah.
And at some point in time, I had $300 in the account, and then one of the bills was like 100 and something, and I was like, great, cool, eggs for 2 weeks, here we go. But that was also, again, when I just was not financially astute to my own, goals and stuff like that. But and that also kind of breaks back to like having these honest conversations about finances. So if you guys move in together, you've set up some of the bills, not some of the other bills, you don't want to come to your partner and say, hey, I have an overdraft bill on something, or, honestly, that's
or also, but at least you also should tell them when that happens.
Yeah,
so
you should. Being
if
honest.
You set yourself up for honest conversations in the future, it's going to be easier when one of you has to leave your job or loses your job or whatever happens or gets laid off or shit's going to happen.
Or and I think for this also is people who get paid once a month too. So if you're a teacher and you get paid once a month and you have to make sure that the budget is according to basically to that T, and then you have a people's gas bill or something that's really high, how to fluctuate that. Maybe it is better that all the bills are put in somebody else's name so that that pain never happens. So,
right.
Especially when you first get going, because even though they give you utility estimates on a lot of these places, what if you like to keep your place really cool and you run your energy a lot and you just didn't expect that or know that? So
yeah.
Anyways, we are going to wrap up because Kayla is telling us on a piece of paper that we have talked so much. This is a long episode, but I feel like I got good therapy out of it.
You know
so
what,
thanks for
everyone?
listening.
We'll pay you $150. I'm kidding, but
just Venmo me a request for how much
you're out of pocket. Yeah.
But no, today this was a joy. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
I had so much fun. Yeah.
Thanks,
All right.
everyone.
Bye.